Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums, and today I have a weekly check-in reading for the week of Sunday, May 3rd, all the way through Saturday, May 9th. So, happy Taurus season. I hope everyone had a lovely full moon in Scorpio on Friday. I'm going to be using this deck, which I've been dying to use, and I'm glad I was able to kind of share the video. It's such a beautiful, beautiful deck, and I think it's very like Taurus season. So we'll see how this one works for a reading for today. I hope everyone is doing all right and taking care of themselves. I know for me, I've been very tired, so I am in the middle of trying to just like wake up for today. It's been a very dreary, kind of rainy week here, and I'm very excited for, we had a lot of sunshine yesterday, so it was very nice to kind of be out. The weather is beautiful, so your girl is just trying to enjoy things as much as possible. All right, so we have a jumper, and that is the Seven of Swords reverse. I'll put her off to the side. All right, so what do we need to know as a collective this week? We have the Emperor reversed. What do we need to do as a collective this week? We have the Four of Wands reversed. And then, all right, what do we need to release as a collective this week? We'll do the Six of Coins. And what do we need to contemplate as a collective this week? We have the Chariot. Interesting things. So let's kind of see what we have for ourselves this week. So we did have a card that just kind of jumped out. I'll just kind of read it as like an extra message after I'm done with everything else. And we'll just kind of get into it and see what this week has in store for us. So for what we need to know, we have the Emperor reversed. Now, typically to me, the Emperor can be very much this card of like leading and dominating, and very much looking at this sense of what we're kind of creating with a very forceful kind of energy. Now, with this being reversed, I can kind of look at it as maybe this is not the time to be a little bit more aware of like trying to rush things, trying to force things. Maybe this is not a time to be dominating. Maybe we're trying to be too logical, too detached from the situations in some way. And so it can feel a little bit more of a little bit intense in the sense of, I know we're going to have some interesting astrological things happening. We're going to have like Mars and Jupiter square on Monday, I believe, which is going to be intense. It's going to feel very much like this weird kind of tension between, you know, what we want, what we're doing. We've had, you know, these like squares between the full moon and Pluto. I was trying to think of like, what was it that was in Aquarius and Pluto, as well as the sun in Taurus. And so we're getting a lot of these kind of interesting, jagged sort of energies going on with the astrological placements. And so a lot of us may not really be feeling this sense of, I can just like enjoy the vibe. I can just kind of keep going. No matter how much you may try to just focus on like what you have going on and what you're enjoying in your life, it seems like right now is just not it. It's like we're either being bombarded by everything that's happening on a global stage, or we just have a lot of things that are kind of coming to the forefront that are requiring us to kind of really be present in what we're currently experiencing. So I think with the Emperor reverse, with what we need to know, we're getting a little bit of this energy that perhaps this is a time to not try to just kind of push through and go forward. There's something that we're not quite ready to kind of put out there, or we're not quite as prepared, and we haven't been as diligent as we need to about certain elements or certain aspects of what we have going on in our lives. When we're really looking and dissecting at the energy of the Emperor, it can be seen as this divine masculine, very much like an authority figure, very much like someone that, you know, has a lot of the masculine qualities necessary in order to be, you know, in a position of power. Now, this being reversed, we may feel like there's not a lot of this authority. Maybe we just are having some issues with like immaturity. We're not being as decisive and as logical as we need to be. So with what we need to know, I think that maybe this is not going to be the best time for us to feel like we're able to build what it is that we want. And I think that maybe there is a lot kind of happening on the big stage, so to speak, that can feel like this isn't what I want to be focusing on, or what is the point of me trying to do what's right and trying to do these things if at the end of the day it's not really going to be consequential, it's not really going to matter. Other people can kind of, you know, come in and, you know, do whatever. So I think that this is going to be a week where I don't want to say like we're battling with authority, but maybe we're really reconsidering. Maybe we kind of feel like this isn't the week where we want to be the most strict with ourselves. This may be a week where we're just kind of like, I don't really want to focus on this kind of masculine, divine masculine sort of energy. Now, with what we need to do, we have the Four of Wands reversed. Now, to me, the Four of Wands is typically a card of like, you know, bringing people together, celebrating a lot of love and laughter and connection. But it may feel like this is not quite the week where we're able to do a lot of this. So with what we need to do, this may not be a time to just kind of, you know, fuck off basically and just, you know, try to focus on what we're enjoying. This may be a week that may require a little bit more planning, a little bit more strategy, if we look at the energy of the Three of Wands. Now, to me, this can just really say like, hey, we're trying to get out there, we're trying to do these things, but things maybe just not are coming together quite the way that we anticipated or the way that we expected. So be prepared for change of plans, be prepared for maybe something else happening that can kind of hinder the possibility of being able to do certain things. I know for me, like I've been trying to plan a little bit, you know, spontaneously for me. And so I've been trying to kind of come together and do something, and it just seems like the more I try to plan stuff, the less it seems to want to work. So it is this very interesting kind of energy where I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, so I think it's kind of very similar for this week where we're just kind of feeling like things are not really coming together. Things are maybe not falling into place the way that we thought they were going to. We may kind of feel like, a lot of like the things that we're trying to plan aren't really, you know, like there's not enough of it coming together as quickly as we would like. Now, the other thing with the Four of Wands reverse is that it can kind of feel like things are still moving full steam ahead, but there's something about what you believe or what you're kind of feeling that maybe bringing up a little bit of tension, or may feel a little bit like things aren't really as celebratory as you would like. So maybe you're just kind of going through the motions. Maybe you kind of feel like you're a little bit checked out. So just be aware that maybe there's just something going on maybe in your personal life or with you that kind of makes it a little bit challenging for you to really enjoy how this energy may work. So I think with these both being reversed and even having the Seven of Swords reverse card, I think maybe this week we'll just kind of feel like we have a lot of this like sense of like maybe we're looking at like our own personal boundaries. Maybe we're wanting to kind of look at where there's been a lack of discipline in some ways. And so we just don't really feel like things are quite as celebratory as we would like. And so we're feeling a little bit of this, I don't want to say tension, but maybe just kind of feeling like, I'm just going to kind of go through the motions. It's not really what I was expecting. Now, with what we need to release, we have the Six of Coins or the Six of Pentacles. Now, it's interesting because this card is one that I like to look at as like a card of like balance and, you know, really like giving and receiving, you know, really coming together with others to kind of co-create something and to really look at what we have and what we need where we're at. So when I think of the Six of Pentacles, it can also be seen as like this authority figure that is like, you know, just like, oh, look, I'm above you. Here's some stuff. With this being what we need to release, I think that maybe we need to look at the different ways in which we have been wanting someone else to kind of come in and save us, this authority figure, so to speak. And even if we look at the Emperor reverse, it's an authority figure, right? So I think that maybe this is kind of saying we need to kind of let go of this idea that something is going to happen outside of who we are so that it can get fixed, or so that things can kind of fall into place, or so that things can get better. And as someone that lives in the US, as I've said many times on my channel before, I know for many of us, like we're like, we want someone to do something, we're waiting for someone to do something. Or we also kind of tend to lean very individualistic, where we're just like, oh, I'm doing this by myself and I'm so like this, that, and whatever. And I think that's one of the big problems with American culture at times, is that we don't really have a sense of like neighborliness, I guess, if you want to call it that, or community. And we're not really, I don't want to say rewarded, but maybe we're not really pushed to say, hey, I am going to be there for my neighbors and I'm going to be there for my community and I'm going to show up in these ways. I think a lot of people are now trying to do things like that with everything that has happened in like the last like year and a half or so. A lot of us are kind of feeling the sense of like, okay, you know, we need to kind of come together. We need to kind of do these things. So I think what we need to release is this sense that someone else is going to come in and save us, that is that has the power to do so, that has the authority to do so. I think that this is also a good card to kind of say like, hey, we need to find balance between everything that we've been doing, everything that we've been carrying, how we're showing up in these ways, what it is that we're giving a lot of our attention to. Maybe there's something that we need to release. It's not a time to just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. You know, maybe we've been doing a little too much with what we have going on, and so it's not the best way to kind of show up in this energy. So I think maybe we're redirecting some of this energy and looking at, you know, what are we doing with this, and how can we use this moving forward. Now, with what we need to contemplate, we have the Chariot. Now, to me, the Chariot can be very much this card of, you know, really getting up and allowing ourselves to kind of shift with things. And I think it's a really great reminder of learning to align ourselves with our, you know, desires, the energy that's out there, with the things that we really want, and kind of like bringing things back into synchronicity, so to speak, for ourselves. Now, we do still have Jupiter in Cancer, which is an exalted placement, which is like where Jupiter just feels very much like I am having such a great time. But we are going to have a Mars square at the beginning of the week on Monday. Mars is in Aries. And so we're getting a little bit of like this kind of tension. And while a lot of people look at the Chariot as this, like, it's just going, you're just this, that, the other, I think a lot of us tend to forget that a path and a journey typically comes with a lot of challenges and obstacles and unexpected things happening. And so I think with the Chariot, as much as we're like, I want to go and I want to just have this momentum and this freedom to just kind of do what I want to do, we're forgetting that the path can have different things showing up on it that can be a challenge, that can make it not quite as easy for us to move in the way that we would like to. So I think with the Chariot this week, we're getting a little bit of a sense of we're wanting to just kind of get up and go, but maybe we need to look at, what does that mean? Especially with some of these other cards that are kind of supporting us to say, hey, maybe this is not the time to just kind of like, boom, fall into, a running stance and get going. And I understand there's still a lot of stuff in Aries. So we're getting a lot of the sense of like, I just want things to shift. I just want to see what's going on. I want to see what's happening next. At the same time, we have to understand what the planets that are in Aries, like what do they signify? What sort of energy are they bringing? So, I mean, even having Saturn in Aries, Saturn is restriction, Aries is impulsivity. So as much as we may say, like, I just want to get out there and just do stuff, the restrictive sort of cold, boundary, filled energy of Saturn is kind of saying, hey, hold on. It's like someone's like pulling that leash, it's like that dog that's like trying to go. And you're like basically kind of choking yourself out because you're in such a rush to like go that you're not really understanding that the leash isn't meant to keep you from being able to go where you want. It's meant to say, hey, let's reconsider the pace at which we are trying to get there, and to ensure that we're doing it in a way that is a little bit more moderated and a little bit more controlled, so to speak. So I think with the Chariot, we're getting a little bit of this sense of this reminder that we need to think about what it is that we're trying to do, where we're trying to go with this energy. And if we just consider some of the imagery here, we have this cloudy sky behind the person, pushing the Chariot. We're kind of saying, okay, we're trying to leave the storm behind, but we need to be very controlled in how we're doing it. We need to make a good course of action, a good plan, map things out in a way as much as we possibly can. This is not about impulsivity. This is not about just like getting out there and just doing things. It's very much about considering all of the options and all of the things that are happening in order for us to really forge a good path forward. So I think that this week may not be the most active in a lot of ways. We may not feel like a lot of things are getting done. Maybe we feel like things aren't really falling into place the way that we would like, but we are kind of getting a little bit of this sense of, okay, I need to make a plan. I need to be more aware of like what I'm doing and what I need so that I can be as prepared as possible, even if I don't really know what the journey is going to bring, because we can't always plan for everything, right? I mean, that's just how life is. We can just try our best. It's like one of the things I'm currently doing is I'm trying to plan for something that's going to happen, in a couple of weeks in my life. And so I'm just trying to be as prepared as possible. Now, does that mean I'm going to have a great contingency plan in case of emergencies? Probably not. I'm going to have to try to do things within the scope of what I can do and just try to make it as easy and as comfortable for me and mine during that time period. So I think it's essentially going to be a great week to just be more prepared, like within the scope of the things that you're trying to do, why you're trying to do them, look at, what is happening around you, and not look at it as like, oh, I'm being kind of pinned in and I'm not able to just like go out there and do what I want to do. Now for this little jumper that just wanted to kind of pop out and surprise us today, we have the Seven of Swords reverse. Now, to me, the Seven of Swords is typically going to be a card that talks about secrets and like, someone that's like, not being very honest. There is a lot of this like, just not really being able to see the truth of the situation. This being reversed, I think that's just kind of saying like maybe we need to take a step back and look at, what we need to fix within ourselves. Maybe we haven't really been quite so honest with ourselves about what we have going on. And this is not going to be a week where we can kind of continue to get away with that. Maybe we need to look at, you know, the thoughts that we have in our heads, our anxieties, our, you know, what sort of communication do we have going on up there right now that just is not making sense, and why? What is it that we're carrying in that way, and what is it that needs to kind of like shift in that energy? So this is one of these cards that like I tend to just kind of be like, oh, all right, like it's a little challenging, right, for me to kind of sit with at times, because I'm like, dishonesty, this, that, the other. But as one of the main things I have really learned in this last year is that so many people are just not very honest with themselves, and a lot of us tend to suffer the consequences for that, you know. And as I've had these like realizations of like, oh, just due to these people like not being able to just kind of sit with themselves and the truth of who they are, it really creates a lot of chaos and discord for everyone in their lives, whether it's like a big or small ripple. So I think that this week, one of the extra messages is maybe we need to kind of sit with ourselves and look at, you know, the truth of our situation. What do we need to kind of transition away from? What is it that maybe we've been trying to get away from? And what sort of healing do we need to do internally in order for us to really live in our truth and to not feel like we need to kind of sneak away with something and look at this energy in a different way? This may also indicate that there is going to be some deceit that is being uncovered. Maybe we're going to have some moments of truth. Maybe we're going to really look past the dishonesty and the blatant kind of like energy that we know for a fact is not the real situation. So I think that this week can uncover some, I don't want to say explosive, but maybe it will uncover something that will have us all kind of looking around like, oh shit, like, damn, I thought it was this way and now it's actually this way. So keep your eyes out for that sort of energy. Maybe there's something within yourself, maybe again, kind of like looking at some of the truth within yourself and how you need to kind of like work past some of the blockages regarding that element in your life. So I want to say thank you so much for joining me. I really hope that this week finds you and treats you well. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.